Welcome to episode 159 of the Necronama.com. The Necronama.com is proud to announce that we've partnered with the Horror Writers Association and the Stanley Hotel and Gemma Amor and Laurel Hightower to bring you the official StokerCon pre-party. We want you to join us on May 10th, 2022 at the iconic Stanley Hotel, where horror authors, including Stephen Graham Jones, Gabino Iglesias, Haley Piper, Gemma Amor, and Laurel Hightower will be reading some of their works. Additionally, the No Sleep podcast will perform a 1-hour live version of their award-winning horror fiction podcast. There will be meet and greets, ghost hunting, and a lot of drinking with authors. You're not going to want to miss it. A link to ticket information and room packages is available in the liner notes of this episode. The Necronama.com is now a proud affiliate of Libsyn, one of the top podcast hosting networks in existence. See this episode's show notes for our unique promo code to get up to 2 free months of podcasting services with Libsyn. Get your show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Get critical audience-building stats and all the support you need to sound your best. They even do video. Bring your podcast to life and have your voice heard here, there, everywhere with Libsyn. Check our show notes for the unique promo code and get podcasting. Now in their 18th year, Fright Rags has been bringing you the best in horror apparel and accessories since 2003. Offering a wide range of products for your favorite creature features, slasher flicks, and cult classics. Officially licensed collections include titles like John Carpenter's The Thing, The Evil Dead, Creepshow, Jaws, the Halloween franchise, and so many more. Head on over to fright-rags.com. Make sure to sign up for their SMS and email newsletter to never miss a drop. Listeners get 10% off when they use the code NECRO10, all caps, at checkout. I am James Sabata, horror author, screenwriter, co-host of the podcast you're listening to right now, and I cannot believe they didn't cast Armie Hammer in this movie.
And I'm Don Guillory, author, historian, co-host of this podcast, and just wireman.
One of our guests can tell us. We have 2 guests today. Allison and Ian Lovecraft are back once again. Guys, welcome back to the show.
Welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. So I just want to say really fast, this is legitimately my favorite Sebastian Stan role that I've seen him in. I fucking love this role. Yeah, so I don't actually want Armie Hammer there. Yes.
I got excited whenever you were posting when you were watching it the other day, and you're like, "Oh man, this movie's so great." I was like, "Yes!" I was like, "I scored."
It was on my list. I just thought it would be months before I got to it. And then I was like, fuck it, let's do it on the show. And then I watched it, and now it's my favorite thing I've seen this year. So there we go.
I just wanted to say this episode is brought to you by RunP.com. Relax and enjoy your movie. The RunP timer will notify you 30 seconds before each pee time. Never again sit through a movie without wondering, can I go now? We'll let you know when it's safe to run and pee. Anything extra during the end credits, we'll give you all the details. At all the latest wide release movies added on opening night or earlier. RunP.com.
Fantastic. That's great. So yeah, I know you guys have done this before. You know, I'm going to say, hey, tell the audience a bit about yourselves. So let's go there.
I think everybody should know, right? I mean, we live in Vegas. We run Esoteric Order of Geekdom. We do a horror division of it. We used to do really cool stuff like trivia and all that, but, COVID was awful. And, yeah, we don't do that stuff anymore.
Yeah. And now I spend most of my time updating the RunP.com app that I created during COVID.
Hilarious. So yeah, use Run P. That's what we're here today to discuss. So Ian, you're the one who told me to watch Fresh, and I knew what was happening going in because you know me, I read spoilers, and this still just blew me the fuck away. And it's going to be really hard for any movie to beat this. So thank you for making me watch it earlier than I wanted to.
Yeah, I'm glad. Like, I think we had just seen it like the night before, and then we were chit chatting. And so it's like I always throw the stuff out there, and you're like, oh well, yeah, I heard about it. I read the spoilers. I'll get to it at some point. And then I think it was like 5 or 10 minutes later, you're like, hey, you know what? Why don't you come onto the show?
Mm-hmm.
And then you can make me watch it. You can force me to watch it. And then you talk about it. And win-win situation. I was like, hell yeah, why not?
Well, I didn't know at that point that you would lock me in the basement. So, I mean...
Well, at least you had a toilet you didn't have to use the Run P app for that.
It's true.
That's how I beta tested Run P. Was I would take people out to the middle of nowhere, block them in my basement, and I'd put movies on. And I was like, you tell me at what point in this movie you feel like you can leave and go use the bathroom, and then you write up a little synopsis for it. And if you're good, then I don't have to cut off some of your flesh and sell it. But if you're bad, if I miss something important in this movie, your tit's gone.
Oh boy. I don't even know where to go with that.
Well, you definitely don't save the breast for last. So anyway.
There's some fun one-liners in this.
Oh, I do have to say this, James, before we do get started. No, that is not my ringtone. That is not my ringtone in this movie. Because as soon as that happened, I was like, this son of a bitch is going to bring that up. I need to bring it up before he does. I do not have the Golden Girls theme as my ringtone. However, I thought it was a cool touch in this movie.
I will say the movie might have influenced me to change somebody else's ringtone on my phone, but that person never calls me anyway.
Who calls people on the phones now? Like
people who hate you. That's it.
I used to have like all the notification sounds on my phone, like customized for everything. And then I think it was like April 2020, like, a month into COVID, like I had like a breakdown and I put my phone on silent, and it has remained on silent since. Like there'll be 1 or 2 times when I've turned it off because like I knew Allison was trying to call, or was going to have to call me to pick her up or something like that. Mm-hmm. But every other time, like when I had my work phone, I would leave my work phone on because I had to. But like my personal phone, like I couldn't even guess what any of my sounds on there sound like because I've had it silenced for 2 years now almost.
I mean, that's just the way to go. Nobody should call anybody at this point.
No.
I do love that you brought it up, Don. It was legitimately in my notes. I was gonna hit it, so good work. Damn it. So, Allison, what did you think of this film?
I love this film. I want to tell you though, like 90% of my notes are from the first 30 minutes.
Oh.
And only from the first 30 minutes.
I can't imagine why.
Right.
Well, let's kick it off then. We'll let you do the first 30 minutes. So you can do all of it if you want. I'll just say.
Opening scene. That date is familiar to every woman. Like every woman has been or like experienced something similar to that date, and it's awful. It's the worst experience. Like you show up and you're like, this is just not what you expected. They're a douchebag out the gate. Like take the fucking scarf off. Like calm down.
Whoa, you're missing the part where he was super nice and let her know that it was cash only.
Yeah,
she got there.
Which, okay, like I went on plenty of dates where we split the bill. That's fine. And that mainly because like I don't want any expectations. And that sucks that's the problem. Like,
yep.
I don't want expectations. Like you shouldn't have expectations. Like no one should, but you do it. So you're like, I don't want to owe anybody anything. And then like at the end when she's like, yeah, and like he's like trying to go in for a kiss. You're like, what in this evening made you think that was even a remote possibility? Like
Allison, I'm going to be a man and I'm going to cut you off right now. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you what
if only there was a term for this.
Oh, yes. No, what's happening?
I'm going to tell you why. I have to keep in line with the movie. I don't know what, and I apologize for cutting you off. I mean, I'm doing it comedically, but in all seriousness, like I kind of question the same thing because when I was watching this with my wife, we didn't talk too much about that. I talked more about why the fuck are guys, I mean, and that's when I wrote why are men. It's like, why are men? And the other thing I would say to beyond that is, yes, all men. So all these guys who come, so I would never be like that. You don't fucking know that you're being like that. You might see it in somebody else's behavior and be like, oh my God, that's such douchey behavior. I can't believe that he was acting like that. And if somebody ran the same tape of you in a situation where you're dating, you're looking like, what the fuck is that guy's problem? It's almost as if guys can recognize it when other guys are doing it, but we can't fucking recognize when we're doing it. Whether it's creepy behavior, whether it's uncomfortable, whether it's something like, oh, I'm trying to be cool and let her know everything's all right. Oh, I'm trying to be new age, or even the whole thing of I'm complimenting her, but I'm giving her a backhanded compliment by saying like, women don't dress like women anymore. You'd look so much nicer in a dress. And, I like that you're kind of comfortable. You showed up all comfortable. It's the whole fucking thing like made me cringe. But I know if I didn't say it, I probably thought it in my head where I was like, oh, she kind of came to the date all comfortable. Well, what does this mean? Does this mean that we're going to be friends? We're going to hang out? What is it going to mean? Or is she expecting this? What she expecting? Whereas, this guy is the exact kind of guy who would have said some shit or probably posted some shit online about how I don't even know how to talk to women anymore because if I try and flirt with them, she'll accuse me of sexually harassing her. He strikes me as one of those dudes.
Because he's a fucking nice guy.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Like at the end, nice. She tells him like, "Oh, I don't think I wasn't really feeling it. I think we can just whatever. Like it was fine. Like we're not whatever." Like the moment she tells him like she's not interested, and she does it very politely. Like she's not a bitch about it in any way. She's just very like, I just wasn't really feeling it. Like, and that's legit. Like anyone from either side can be like, "Hey, nice meeting you. It was cool. Just not feeling it." And everyone should just be cool, accept that, and move the fuck on. Like it's not a big deal. But no, like she says it, and he immediately is like, "Stupid fucking whore, bitch, ugly. What? You're not even that attractive." Like he just immediately goes into this offensive. You're not even that good. Like, calm down.
Can I ask you about the politeness thing? I guess I'll do the conference thing where I'm going to ask a question, but it's going to come off as a statement.
Okay.
Do you feel that you have to be polite because of the fear of what the reaction is going to be from that guy?
Yes, I was going to say, yeah, absolutely. You have to be polite about it. You can't be like, no, you really fucking suck. Like you can't tell why you actually feel the way you do a lot of the times. You can't be like, you're actually kind of a douchebag. How about next time? You can't even give like advice like, hey, next time don't fucking do this. Like you are doing this all wrong, because it's going to come off aggressive and you fear for what that might entail. Like what the reaction you're already you're going to get a shit reaction from being polite. How much worse is it going to be if you're not polite?
Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that's been expressed to me from female friends and relatives and stuff as far as that concern. Because again, as a cishet man, I don't look at it as like, oh, well, I look at it as before I had those conversations, I didn't look at it as, oh, well, you're being nice because you're being polite. And I never saw it as, holy shit, they're being nice to these guys because of the fucked up shit that men have been known to do. Like even the part where, and I wrote the not all men part when, I'm sorry, I wrote the yes all men part when she's walking through the alley to go to her car and she feels like she's being followed. And it turns out it's just a guy, carrying his baby, right? And my wife watching this movie, she's like, no, it's still not a safe situation. And I looked at her and was like, because at that moment, I'm like, oh, cool. The relief that it wasn't somebody stalking her in the down the dark alley. And my wife was still like, no, I'd still be on fucking guard because that's weird. And I thought, I was like, that is fucking weird. Why would a guy be walking his baby on a baby carrier through a dark alley like that? Like that seems it's like the scene from what was it, Men in Black, where Will Smith's character shoots the little girl in the thing, and he's asked about it. He's like, yeah, because this alien is working out. This alien is has got a cold. That's why he's got a rag. He's cleaning his face. He said, but this little girl right here, she's got, books on advanced physics and quantum mechanics and blah, blah, blah. And she's walking through this neighborhood with all these monsters and aliens and shit. And
she's this white little girl.
Yeah. I don't trust her. And it's kind of, and she pointed out the same thing to me. She was like, that seems odd. I'm not saying that a guy can't walk with his baby, but there have been a number of cases where men have used the appearance of fatherhood or the appearance of marriage to make themselves seem as though they're safe, so that women will put their guard down.
It's disarming. Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually have both of those points in my notes. I have the men need to be more aware of how women would feel when walking alone. I think that like if until we don't have to be hyper aware, I think everyone should have to be hyper aware. Like we shouldn't be the only ones carrying the responsibility of being hyper aware of our surroundings. Mm-hmm. If men were also hyper aware of the situation that they're placing other people into, like obviously you're not you wouldn't be going into it with ill intentions, but nobody knows that but you.
Right.
And so if men could be just a little more hyper aware of situations where I am possibly making this woman who's walking in front of me or this walking woman who's walking towards me uncomfortable, because they have to be hyper aware of my intentions, not through my own fault, obviously, but that's just the way it is. So like, I don't know, maybe step to the side, let them finish their getting to where they're going. You can just be like, hey, I'm going to wait here. You get to where you feel safe, and then I will continue my walk, just like, hey, clear the situation up so that way they don't have to feel threatened every time they go anywhere, And
another thing that because we had a situation here in Oxford, where the people who made the plans for the Uber, Lyft, and ride sharing pickup area is through a dark alley. So you have to walk down a dark alley, a poorly lit alley, in order to get to your ride share. And the people who plan this out, well, we want to cut down on the congestion in the square because we have one of those typical small town downtown areas, right? So you have the courthouse that's in the middle, and there's a roundabout that goes around it. And then you have all the stores and shops and restaurants, on the outside of that traffic circle that encircles the courthouse. And when they made this announcement, they said, well, we need to cut down on congestion in the square on Fridays and Saturday nights when people go out drinking and stuff. So anybody who's taking a ride share, you have to go all the way over here to pick up you have to go over here to pick up the people that are going to be riding in your car, which means that then the people that are leaving the bars have to walk over to this area that is a little distance from the bars, as opposed to, hey, we could just have one spot right in front of where, the majority of the bars are. You can be picked up there and go about your business. But the person or people or committee or whatever that designed this have you going to the other side of the square where the bars aren't to get your Uber, get your ride share, and you've got to go through this dark alley. And what some friends of mine had pointed out was this is a very dangerous situation for the young women that are going to the bars, that are going and hang out, even the ones that aren't drinking, right? So you throw drinking into the mix of, oh, well, they might be a little bit inebriated when they're walking, might fall, might have some type of physical injury as a result. Even if you weren't there, you just weren't there drinking, you still got people that are going to be going into those areas. And now you've got people that know that this is a specific route that you have to take through this dark area, poorly lit area, pretty much unpoliced area. And you're putting a lot of women at risk because of what you have to have them walk through. And the city council or whatever they are, I guess it fell on deaf ears and they didn't change anything. But there were a good number of groups that came together and said, like, this is not the way. This is not the way to solve the problem, because you're creating a bigger problem and an unsafe situation for so many women. And it's worth noting that the board of aldermen or city council or whatever we have here, it's all men, and they came up with the plan.
They created an ambush alley. Like, why would you do that? Because they're not hyper aware. To them, I'm just walking down a street. Like, they don't see the danger in it the way that people who have been attacked before or have, because I'm sorry, like 90% of women have been attacked in some way, shape, or form. Mm-hmm. And like, it is, yes, all women. Like,
mm-hmm. and these guys probably they're not going to use that service anyway. So it's just well, we're just going to put it somewhere that's not going to affect us when we come and go, because we're not going to have to worry about walking down some dark ass alley.
And if we do, I'm a man. It's the whole thing of it's not going to be the same fear. Whereas, I pointed out to some of my male colleagues that when it comes to our fear as men, generally speaking, men, our fear is if we go down a dark alley, we might get mugged. That's about it. We're not concerned about anything beyond that. It's, if I go down this dark alley, somebody might mug me, somebody might rob me, whatever. Maybe I'll incur some type of physical injury. Whereas even outside the dark alley, and I don't mean to speak for women on this one, Allison, but even outside the dark alley, the differences in fears that men and women have are completely different. You don't even have to have the dark alley to have those same concerns.
No, it's as simple as like looking at just asking somebody out on a date. Men's worst fear of asking someone out on a date is being denied, right? Or being told no. Whereas a woman's worst fear when getting asked out is like, they could fucking kill me for saying no. Let me just tell them I have a boyfriend, because if I'm somebody's possession, they might back off.
Right. At least that's the hope, because there's still those guys like, well, you sure?
Yeah.
Sure you got a boyfriend? I mean, all girls say they have a boyfriend. And I don't know.
Why.
I don't know if either of you've seen these, but they're those stupid staged, gold digger videos where it's, hey, it's like, I'm new in town. Do you want to go get something to eat? And so the girl looks at him, is like, oh, well, I have a boyfriend. And she walks away, and he walks away and he gets in like a Lamborghini or an Audi or something. And then she immediately is like, oh, yeah, if you're not busy, I could come hang out. And she's like, well, I thought you had a boyfriend. Well, I really don't. And so there are guys who watch these videos and say, say some pretty inflammatory stuff in the comment section. But they'll go into this whole thing of like, see, that's what women really want. They want a guy who's going to pay for them, or a guy who's got money or whatever. They really don't have boyfriends. They say that because they're not impressed with you until you pull out material. Or this one guy who went viral on, I can't remember which social media platform he was, but he was trying to talk to a girl and trying to pick her up. And she kept saying like, no, I'm not interested. He pulls out his phone and pulls up his bank account to show how much money he has. He's like, oh, he's like, I actually have money. I'm not some broke guy. I think he had like $80,000 in the bank account or something like that. And women were sharing this and commenting and pointing out like, that's not the point. Like, what this guy is proving is that he has nothing to offer other than money. And when she says no, that should be it. Okay, if it turns out that he ended up being a nice guy and he had money and he had all these other things, okay, great, she missed out. But they were pointing out in the comments and in resharing and interacting with, they were saying like, we can't take that risk. We don't know.
Yeah.
Even the people we know can be a threat to us. Or to quote somebody I'm ashamed to actually quote at this moment because of what turned out, what happened with him, that men are sharks. Like, women should not trust any men because men are sharks, which we are the most dangerous thing in existence to women. It doesn't matter your ethnic background, your nationality, anything like that. We are the most dangerous thing to women on this planet.
I can agree with that. Like men are like you said, they're like sharks. And because when we were watching this movie, because we ended up having to stop this movie. The last time we watched it, we stopped it 6 times so Allison could add some commentary in. But like the first time we were watching it, it was a little bit less than that. But it was just like funny. We're like 5 minutes in, like during that date, and she pauses it and then she goes off. And then, we start watching it, and then she does it again. And I just start laughing. She's like, "What?" I was like, "You're literally pausing this movie to like have a breakout discussion about what's going on." I was like, "This is going to be one of those movies that we have to watch with people because you feel like, that this is topic that need to be discussed and explained to people." I was like, so that's a good thing for a movie. Like this is what movies should do. It should have it so people can have an open discussion about like, see, like you may not see what you're doing, but this right here is what every woman has to worry about when they're on a date or when they're walking down a dark alley or when they're in the fucking grocery store trying to buy some food. Some asshole's coming up, picking them up, and then, a fucking week later, she's in a fucking torture basement having her fucking flesh sold.
But what if he had cotton candy grapes?
I know, right? See, it's worth it.
Look, cotton candy grapes are good, but they ain't that fucking good.
They're not. I mean, but like I was saying, because we had a friend over on Friday, and so we were showing her the movie when we were taking notes and stuff, and like I forget like what we were discussing, and Allison's like, "Oh, you're not like that." I was like, "What do you think I was like before you? Like when I was a single dude, like out on the prowl, like." Sometimes I would realize, I was like, am I like a fucking predator here? Like I'm literally out just like trying to find some chick to like have sex with or something like that. Like you're saying, like there was times when it's like, fuck, I kind of do feel like a shark. Like I'm out here just like, who's a chick in this room that's going to say yes or something like that. So it is the reality. Like men are shit and, women need to protect themselves.
No, I think that is a huge point. My wife and I talk about this all the time, and she'll be like, "Well, that's why I like you, because you're not like that." And I'm like, "No, you don't understand. My life now is penance for the shit that I did. Like, maybe I wasn't like a rapist, but like that doesn't mean that the things I did weren't bad too. Because I did do things like hit on a random waitress or things like that when she's just trying to do her fucking job." Like I look at these things now, like going to the bar and you're just there to get laid. And maybe they're just there to get laid, but maybe they're there to have a great day and not give a shit about you. So I've really started paying attention to all these things that I did in my past. And I look at it now and I'm like, no, I wouldn't make these same choices now. But that doesn't mean that I'm absolved of what I did either.
I think it's important too, though, that like, yeah, everyone kind of, and I'll even say everyone, because like even as a single female, like I would go out looking just, what dick can I get tonight? That happens too. Like women are the same. Like it's
of
not
course.
Any different. We're just a little more subtle about it, apparently. We're just better at it. I don't know. But like it comes down to like, did you learn from that? Are you still that person? Or did you learn, hey, you know what? That was shitty. I shouldn't ever do that again. Like, do you have those moments of clarity when you're out there of like, am I being that guy? Like, I don't want to be that guy. Am I being that guy? Maybe, you know what? I think I might be being that guy. I'm going to tone it back a little bit.
Well, and I think that that's a good point as well, because, speaking from my own experience, because I can't speak for anybody else, I always took the first no. Like, that was just, I don't know if that's like something my dad drove into me or just how I am or what, but I was like, it's a lot of effort to keep going when the answer is already no. Like, that's wasted time. So you move and go elsewhere, and I don't know. I don't understand people that like stalk people for months, or like, we get fucking school shootings because some girl didn't go to prom with some guy, or I do not understand any of that shit, but I don't know. But in regard to what you said about like, how have you changed and what have you learned? I think that's a big part of it as well. But I also think a lot of it is just we all hate pieces of ourselves and we hate pieces of our past. And so like myself, I think I focus on those times, and maybe they weren't even that terrible or however you want to put it. But like for me now, it's a piece of me that I really dislike. So I think I focus on it more.
And that shows growth. I mean, that's the problem. And if we go with Chad, which I love the fact that they went with Chad as the guy's name.
No, he's not a Chad. He is 100% not a Chad. He's a Kyle. Like,
yeah,
I would've named him
Kyle is worse. Kyle is worse than a Chad. Like Chad has more money than Kyle does.
And Chads, are a Chad. Like Chads do not make it a secret that they are a Chad. Like Chads they're going to be attractive, they're going to have money, and they're going to be a fucking douchebag. They're going to be worse than a himbo. I love a himbo. I adore a himbo. I think they're the jewel of the men is like a himbo. Like they're beautiful. But a Chad is a piece of shit, and they know they're a piece of shit, and they act like a piece of shit. A Kyle is he thinks he's a good guy, whereas Chads know they're not. He's a Kyle, 100%, and he's not cute. Also,
but there's so many guys that don't have that self-awareness, right? Like he's obviously been taught. I'm gonna pick on boomer culture here. He's been taught by boomer culture, and speaking as someone who grew up with boomer parents, and before we get too far into this, Allison, I would love to watch any movie with you, because that is exactly the way I want to watch movies, where we watch it, we take a break and we talk about it, and so a 2-hour movie will easily become 3.5, 4 hours.
Ian kept hash marks of how many times I'd pause it and be like, okay, so we got to discuss this now.
I'm all for it, because you know what's going to happen is some things that enhances the movie. But no, with a guy like this
you guys have given me an idea for a new podcast. Good work.
We'll do a live. We'll do a live.
It'll just
show.
be like, watch until 5:03, then pause and come back.
Come back.
But no, this guy is obviously one of those Joe Rogan listening sycophants who just believes that, women are here to serve him, right? Because even when it comes to the lady at the restaurant, he's just complete asshole to her too. Because and it goes into the whole thing of like, oh well, if you're on a date with somebody, you watch how they treat anybody that's serving them in the restaurant, anybody that they interact with, because that's how they're going to treat you eventually, right? So the whole fact is like, oh, do you have sparkling water? I need some sparkling water to care. Yeah, Bubbles. I don't think she understood what I was saying. And I love the look that the restaurateur. Oh my God, she looks at him like she looks at Noah like, are you on a fucking date with this guy?
Uh-huh.
Like, I better not see you in here getting short ribs with this dude again. But just the look, it's a whole conversation she has, which is like, you in danger, girl. But he's obviously raised by that boomer mentality of no means yes. If a woman doesn't want you, then she's worthless. Well, no, even worse than that. She's not worth anything, because he immediately was like, well, fuck you. You're not that pretty anyway. I was doing a favor to you. Where if you get rejected, you are so emotionally stunted and you have such an arrested development with your identity that you cannot accept someone saying no to you. You have to immediately lash out at them. And that was something that I, going back and looking at the way that boomer culture kind of taught women they were supposed to behave and how men they were supposed to behave. It started creating these man children that won't go to therapy, won't work through shit, won't accept no in a polite way, or won't accept no and have a polite reaction, which it should simply be. Now, of course, talking about Chad/Kyle, it should simply be, hey, this wasn't a love connection. Cool. Whatever. I had a good time regardless. I hope you find somebody out there for you. That's a mature way to handle this. He is completely immature, and it demonstrates exactly what a lot of my friends have expressed about going on dating apps. Like they're like, it sucks. Like there are all these people out there. And I've even had this conversation with my wife. I'm like, if anything happens to you, I'm not fucking going on dates anymore.
Oh shit.
It's just like, why? So I've heard all the stories of what's out there. And I'm talking about people. Like, I don't want anything to do with any. I will become a sugar daddy. I will just find somebody. I'm like, hey, do you need your rent paid? There's no strings attached. Here, I'll go ahead and pay this. I just need some physical contact, some one-to-one contact with somebody that I feel like I don't need anything else. I don't want to date. It's like, you need something to eat? All right, I'll get you some groceries. So I've joked with him like, that is what will happen to me. I will be a sugar daddy who expects no sugar in return.
Ian said he's going out into the middle of the woods until he dies.
That was the other one, but I was like, I can't be out in the middle of the woods.
Yeah, I was like, I'm going to sell everything that we have, give somebody our cats, and then I'm going to pack up like our camper trailer, and I'm just going to go as far out into the middle of the woods, and then no one will ever see me again until someone stumbles across my dead body in a couple of years because I've just died from just being a hermit out in the woods.
That was the plan if something happened to my wife and daughter. So if that happens, we'll be close enough to where we can see each other's fireplace or chimney smoking.
I thought it would be cool too. Like
I'll be fine. Now this episode's brought to you by Pornhub and RunP.
Well, no, you bring that up. You bring that up, and I'm gonna make this point.
I'm sorry.
No. I'm gonna honestly make this point because and this is coming from my mom. My mom does not understand men at all.
Is that anyone?
As far as like the way that men behave, and it makes sense, right? She will say things like, "Why do men need to, pressure themselves into women? Why do men need to do this? Like, if it's just about sex, like, because that's what men would make. And they're like, well, I just need to get laid." So her response would be, go on the internet, watch some porn, take care of yourself, and go about your day. And when she said that, I was like, that makes too much sense. That's why. That makes too much sense for a guy to sit there and say like, well, you know what? I'm in the mood and I really want to get it on with somebody or whatever. I'm like, just go to a website, take care of yourself, go about your day. Like, you don't need to fuck up somebody else's day in somebody else's life by being a complete tool bag towards them because, you can't get any. Which, again, goes back to when you brought up the incels, James, earlier. I mean, indirectly brought up incels. Like, they make this comment of like, we don't even masturbate. We don't do this. I'm like, well, maybe that's the problem. Maybe you need to release some endorphins.
With most of them, it's not about just getting laid. Because if that was the case, like there are people who will fuck you. Like, that is just that's not a problem, honestly.
Right.
Like, I don't see that as an issue. Like, you will always, like, somebody will always be able to find someone willing to fuck them.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. I mean, in the sense of Chad was like, when he was offering himself up and he got rejected, I'm like, go home and jerk off. Like, it's like, you don't need to be an asshole to somebody because they said no to sex.
Yeah.
So
it's because it's not about sex. It's about power. It's about my ability to make you do what I want.
Right.
Power and control.
Fucking Chads and Kyles. And Brady's.
Not all Chads and Kyle.
No, all Chads. Everyone I've met named Chad.
I just want to start really long hashtags for no reason. So I want it to take up your whole Twitter character count so that you can't write anything else with it. Anyway, so we've talked at length about the first guy, and then we sort of mentioned the grocery store where I almost said Armie Hammer. Good God, where Sebastian Stan meets her and gives her some grapes. And
did you notice her reaction to him when he first said something to her was very like standoffish until he mentions his niece?
Yep.
That immediately disarms her. Like him mentioning a child immediately disarms her and lets her start to open up and like converse with him and taste his grapes and all the cutesy flirting that happens.
Oh, she tastes his grapes, but that's way later in the film.
Yeah, that was another point where she paused the movie. She's like, "You see what he did right there by mentioning his niece and his sister? It disarmed her."
He
only talks about women.
Mm-hmm.
He does not mention another male. Don't take notes, bad people out there.
Yeah,
exactly. This is not an instruction manual.
It's not an instruction manual.
Anyway.
Well, again, I mean, he studied Ted Bundy. You gotta figure a way to because he's a good-looking guy. I mean, Sebastian Stan is a good-looking guy.
Yeah,
definitely.
Okay, and that's immediately going to make some people, look and say, "Oh, it's a good-looking guy." I'm already a little bit disarmed I'm dropping my armor a little bit because it's someone I find attractive. If you do find him attractive, somebody you find attractive. So it's a little bit easier to have a conversation with, or do corny shit with. But yeah, you're absolutely right. That's one of those methods to completely disarm somebody is by talking about family, talking about little kids, talking about, your cute little niece who says you're fucking lying. Because, that's not what a 4-year-old would actually say, but it seems strange enough to where it seems like it's true. Right. And one thing I always remember, I don't remember much from the reboot of The Hitcher, but I remember Sean Bean's character talking about wearing a wedding ring. And he says, well, I'm out here hitchhiking and the wedding ring makes people feel secure in picking me up because they think that somebody trusted me enough to marry me so they can trust me enough to pick me up and give me a ride.
Which is so ridiculous because domestic abuse is like rampant.
It is, but
just because you're married doesn't make you a nice person.
But there are a lot of people that would immediately look at it and say like, oh, well, this is a married guy. I can trust him.
Yeah.
Or this is...
You know what I haven't done in a while? Here we go. Donald Trump's been married repeatedly.
Exactly.
Right. What I'm saying is it's not something that you should really look at, but there are a lot of people that would look at that and say this person is married, because if you look at a lot of people believe in quote unquote traditional societal values, right? If you get to a certain age as a man or as a woman and you're not married, the question is always, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Or if you're married for a certain number of years and don't have children, there's something wrong with you, right? So there are a good number of people in the majority that, or I guess minority, depending, that would look at that and say like, oh, well, this guy's trustworthy. Or even if you were married, right? If you're divorced, it's a bad sign.
Yeah.
If you're widowed or you're a widower, that automatically makes you a sympathetic person.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, he stood with her through, she had cancer she ravaged her body for 4 years and he stayed with her the entire time. Right. But you don't talk about, oh, well, maybe he was beating the shit out of her for years prior to that. He's a widower. So I'm automatically going to trust you. He stood by her while she was dying of cancer. What a great man. Yeah. Meanwhile, I mean, he could be punching puppies in the street,
Those dogs deserved it.
So when they're standing there at the grocery store and they're standing by the giant wall of veggies, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's framed really, really well because when it pulls back and it shows them both standing there and they're like, you see them, you see this wall of vegetables and you see him looking at her and you're almost from his point of view, you're just slightly off, but directly above her is a sign that says fresh meat.
Oh.
Son of a bitch.
I didn't even notice that. You never even brought that up either. Holy shit. Way to go.
I need a screenshot of that. I'm changing the graphic I made for this episode.
Directly above her is a sign that says fresh meat.
Son of a bitch. That's amazing.
I was like, oh, perfect. I was like, I'm writing that down. Perfect.
Jeez. I do love when people just throw us all off at once. It's great. So the next thing he does,
like they're in front of vegetables and she's.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go back just a little bit, I guess, to involve 3 different things. Because he uses the pickup line, right? And my question to you, to everyone, is what pickup lines did you use that are just fucking horrible? What is probably the worst one you've heard? What is something that was used on you.
I can tell you the best pickup line that was ever used on me, but I never really used pickup lines.
James, you're not supposed to tell people about the lines I used on you, man.
Oh, no, not yours. I said the best ones.
Oh,
so
okay.
It's the ones that Vince used on you?
Yes. Vincent Vanacava. You can find him on Twitter, Instagram, JDate, OnlyFans, OkCupid. Anyway, so yes, Christian Mingle. I always forget about that. Farmers only.
Yeah,
yep.
Farmers only. one of the
it's fine. He doesn't listen to our show unless he's on it.
My P website, whatever that fuck thing was called.
Run P, the thing you spent years making?
Yeah, runp.com. He was one of the backers on that. He got us off the ground with his $10,000 kick-in at the base level.
There you go. No, so the best pickup line that was ever used on me, a pretty young lady said, "I have some pledge. Can I polish your wood?" And
wow,
I don't know. It worked. That's all I can say. You know.
I know your desk never looked so clean after that.
She did a great job. I was busy watching Pornhub. So I guess the closest I ever came to using pickup lines was just I would start with really weird conversation starters instead. Like I remember very clearly being very drunk, and this woman had a very large like Coach bag, but I don't think it was a Coach bag. I think it was just like that. I don't know brands and stuff. And I just walked up and I was like, "That's a very large bag. Do you have a gun in there?" And we ended up talking for like 4 hours, and she became one of my good friends. So I don't think it's really pickup lines as much as I'm just really fucking weird. What do you guys got?
Good God.
So the best one on me was I was talking to this guy on the phone and we were just getting to know each other. And I told him my cat's names and he was like, "Oh, from Resident Evil." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, he totally knows my cat's names and where they came from." It was very impressive, only to find out later on that he Googled it.
Ah.
Yep,
that was Ian, by the way. That was Ian.
Way to go, Ian.
I know, right? Yay,
research
Google.
skills are everything.
Yeah, I remember also, like I can't really remember any pickup lines that I use, but I know I use like goofy ones all the time. Just like we're just like fucking around or whatever with me and Allison. Mm-hmm. But I know, like the whole Resident Evil thing, like because we met online, like we met through like a dating app, but it was,
yeah.
I think what snagged her was like some of the stuff she was into. Like I already knew people like in this group, like she was in this group here called Vagina. It's very awesome girls into nerdy activities.
Yeah.
Yes.
And yeah, that's right. I forget.
Oh, yeah, there was a Phoenix chapter. I forgot about that.
Yes.
Phoenix chapter. But it started here in Vegas, so I knew like the girl who started that, and I had been to some of their stuff before. And so like when I was reading like her profile on, was it OkCupid or was it
Plenty of Fish? Yeah.
Plenty of Fish, whichever one it was. I had seen that stuff in there, so it's like we're like chit chatting back and forth, and then I'm throwing out this stuff. I'm like, "Oh yeah, I know this, that." And she's like, "Whoa, that's cool." And then, but then she fucked me over like the first time we went to her house. First time I went to her house, she has all these movie posters. She has like fucking Night of the Demons. She has what, Evil Dead. What else did you have on your?
I had like Cannibal Girls. I had like a bunch. There was a bunch. May. Like, yeah, I mean.
And I was like, "Oh, cool." And then it's like, she's like, "No, I've never seen Night of the Demons. I haven't seen this." I was like, "Man, I was fucking lied to." Like,
I just liked the art of the posters, man.
That's
Return
amazing.
of the Living Dead
like,
Part 3.
I saw half of the ones. Part 3 was beautiful. I had seen probably half of the movie posters that I had up. The rest I just liked the art for them.
I love it. What about
See,
you,
we
Don?
both lie to each other. It's fine.
That's how it works. When you meet people, you send your representative. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
Relationship built on lies lasts forever.
Yeah, it does.
50% of all marriages end in divorce. The other half figure out the dishes. That's everything you need to know. All right, Don, what lines did you use or have used on you?
Well, because I'm stupid, and my parents did a good job of, lowering my self-esteem, that I can't think of any pickup lines that I used, but I can think of pickup lines that were used against me. But again, I was so clueless. I had no idea that someone was picking me up. I was at a Washington, they shall not be named this, football game against the Arizona Cardinals years ago. My mom was there. I think this was like fall 2014 or something like that. Anyway, so I got my mom tickets to the game. I'm like, all right, we're going to go see, your team. I'm not going to mention their name, but we're going to go see your team and have a cool day. So my dumbass is sitting there. This woman walks up to me and says, "You look so hot." I'm stupid. I then wipe my brow and I'm like, yeah, it's like in the high 80s, like 90s today. I don't know why they haven't turned the air on in the stadium.
It's a dry heat.
And so she's like, "No, you're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." I'm like, "Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that." Again, I'm stupid. And then my mom looks at me. She's like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "The woman was talking to you, like it was like, you should have given her your number." I was like, "Mom, I just got remarried. Why am I going to be giving anybody my number?" She's like, "It's okay. You can have a friend." We get home. I tell Claudia what happened. My mom is sitting there. Claudia is like laughing. She's like, "Did you give her your number?" I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about? You just had our kid. Like, we just got married last year. Like, what is going on in this world?" She's like, "I don't know why you didn't give her your number. I mean, she had a nice pickup line for you." I'm like, "I'm an idiot. So, whatever." But as far as pickup lines that I used on anybody, I didn't. I was typically the, "Hey, you want to get dinner sometime or go to a movie?" Like, that was my pickup line. I can't think of anything that I used that was smooth and like, "Hey, girl." I was very direct. It's like, "Hey, I don't know if you're doing anything Friday. We can go to the movies or go to get some dinner." That was it for me. I never used any. I knew there was this guy when I was in the Army who used the same pickup line every fucking time that any of us were in the same area. And it was this. He's like, "Oh, I got a perfect pickup line for the girls." And I'm like, "This is the fucking polar," because I did not like this guy. And I'm thinking to myself, "Oh my God, it must be the polar bear line again." Because we were stationed at the same place 3 fucking times. But he was like, "Yeah, we're going out on Friday. I'm gonna try out my pickup line." And it's I'm gonna walk up to a girl and be like, "Hey, do you know how much a polar bear weighs?" And she's gonna say no. And I'm gonna say, "Enough to break the ice. Hi, my name is John."
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, that's the worst shit I've ever heard in my life.
Well, I'm turned on. Do you have John's number?
I know.
No.
I'm making a note of this right now. Polar bears
Polar
break
bear.
ice. Wait, John. What? Well, fuck. Do I say my name is John or do I use my actual name?
Just use John.
Yeah, in this case, I would definitely use John.
John.
That's not something you want tied to yourself.
Speaking of tied to yourself. Oh.
Uh-huh.
So, is this movie the movie with the record for the longest time before the opening credits? Because
It is not.
It is.
It's
So
not.
long.
It is not. The record still goes to, and that was what I pointed out. The record goes to, with Claudia last night when we were watching it. The record is still held by Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
How long is that?
The whole movie.
See, I don't think that should count. That's
doesn't
ending
count.
credits at that point.
No.
Yeah.
Like
No.
I'm talking, it splits the story.
Into 2.
Yeah.
It might be The Departed then. If it's splitting in that sense, it could be The Departed. It would be very close.
I don't remember The Departed having a long intro.
It does.
Okay.
Yeah.
It has.
It's been years since I watched it.
It's like 25, 30 minutes. And then they finally, The Departed, and they play, shipping off to Boston.
The Empty Man did that too, right? Where
Yes.
it had that long opening, like the whole short film before.
Yeah, I want to say it was
Yeah.
like 15 or 17 minutes or something. Yeah.
It was.
When this one kicked in, I literally started laughing. I was like, how far into this are we? And I paused it, and I was like, 33 minutes. Whoa. But
If you watch the trailer, because we watched the trailer right before we watched it, and when they're showing it, and they're like 33 minutes in, and my jaw hit the floor, because that's when you realize what's going on, and that's when the opening title.
That's
is
awesome.
at that point. So we
Yeah.
were kind of looking like because when she paused it a couple times before to like talk about stuff, I was always checking the time. It's like, well, we got 15 more minutes before our jaws are going to hit the floor, so we better get going so we can see what's going to happen at this point to change our mind about this movie, to make us not know what we're watching. And we're kind of like how Don was, where we thought like he has to be like a serial killer or something, but I mean, it was a lot worse than that.
The scene where he tells her what's happening is like my favorite scene. So he sits down and he's like, okay, I'll tell you, but you're going to freak out. But his delivery, like this is what I mean by this is my favorite role of his, because it is just mesmerizing. Everything he does from this point forward just blew me away. Like, I want to give him like every fucking award for this role. So yeah. But
yeah, pretty much like I said, most of my notes are from before that. So I still have like, so when they go on their date and he tells her he's a plastic surgeon, he's not a plastic surgeon because he mentions, oh, boob jobs, nose lifts, whatever. That is not the majority of plastic surgeons' works anymore. It's like he would have mentioned like, yeah, boob jobs because, breast cancer. Like I heal women from breast cancer where they've had mastectomies and need reconstructions of like, that is things that plastic surgeons would have said. Like, they're legitimate surgeons. Like, they're legitimate professionals.
Yeah.
It's not all about what Hollywood makes it out to be. Like, there is a whole, and again, all he does talks about a child. Well, there was this burn victim. He's a child. Like, again, bringing up a child, like to try and disarm. And then that makes her feel comfortable enough to then he starts asking these probing questions. Well, what about your family? How much family do you have? And she just blurts out she had no fucking family to miss her. Like, don't tell people that.
Yeah.
Don't tell
make people up.
Yes. Until you're like in a serious committee. Oh, by the way, I lied to you. I don't have all this family, but you have to understand, like, I have to protect myself. Like, that's a legitimate lie to do in a date. Like,
and I will literally back that up. Like, if my wife had done that and then later she was like, yeah, no, I would be like, oh yeah, I totally get why. Good work. Also, so glad you don't have that many family members.
Right.
Thanks.
Right.
Like, there's no downside to lying about this. Do it.
Yeah.
Like all my family's in prison right now. They're actually getting out tomorrow.
Yeah, like that's like don't tell people that. Don't tell people you live alone. Don't tell people you don't have a dog. Don't tell people you are by yourself during these times. You work from home and you're all alone from this hour to this. Like, don't tell people that stuff.
Yeah, for the longest time, I always would just say I have a roommate, even when I didn't have a roommate. It's just because if you tell people you live alone, then they might, then I can just come over, and you're like, and if you're not feeling it, it makes it awkward when you're just like, maybe I don't want you to come over, but it's like, no, I have a roommate, my roommate's doing this or that. It makes it kind of like, like you were saying earlier, how chicks have to, when they turn guys down or they give excuses, like they have to give some, like, people just can't take the standard, I'm not interested, I don't want you to come over, because then they get butthurt, and the next thing you know, you wake up in their torture basement.
Exactly.
And then like, so they go back to her place, and like watching it through the second time was like way more golden than like, you got to do it twice. You got to do a twice watch through 100%. So they go back to her place, and he's sitting down, and she's like, oh, can I get you something to drink, eat? And he literally says, just you.
Oh, that's beautiful.
He just tells her, like, he literally tells her.
Well, and the I don't eat animals.
I don't eat animals. Okay. Like, I'm watching, I'm like, did he just say just you? He sure did. Man.
That's something else you didn't bring up when we did the rewatch the other night.
I made a note.
Damn it. I wish I would have looked at your notes during the movie, man. those two were really good.
Right. I'm telling you, I was like, this guy is just letting it all out there, and they're framing it perfectly. Like, when you watch it the second time, all the clues come out of like, they told you all along he's going to try and eat her ass. Like, literally. So like, and then like on their second date, like he asks, oh, did you tell anybody about me? How much did you tell Molly? All this stuff. Also, don't go on a surprise trip. Don't do that.
No.
Just never do that.
I don't even go on surprise trips with my wife. I'm like, no, she's probably mad about something.
Only surprise trip I've ever gone on is by myself.
Did you get lost?
Pretty much. That's what happened.
Cool.
No, That was I'm glad you guys brought that up because that was something I thought was weird as well. And again, like Allison and Ian, my wife and I stopped the film a couple of times, and this was one of those moments where it's like, you just met this guy, and you're so enamored with him that you're already going away somewhere, like you're agreeing to some trip away, like. But that speaks to, I guess, even some larger issues, which is, wanting to find somebody or wanting to find the right person. And then when you feel like you have, you ignore all those red flags. You ignore all those things that would typically tell you, like, this is not a good idea. And it's even the same with what was that? The 50 Shades of Grey, where people were making critiques of the book and the movie and saying, if this had been any other guy, if this hadn't been an attractive billionaire, if this had been a normal guy, like the movie would have been a lot shorter. It would probably ended like, the date with Chad, where it's like, you want to come home and come to my place and see all my playroom? No. Well, no. Fuck you too.
You're not even that cute.
I thought it was funny too, like when they're going out to his house and they're just driving forever and ever and ever. You can see
hours.
You would see like the look on her face where she kind of realized she might have fucked up. And then he would say stuff to like reassure her. He's like, oh, well, we're going to wherever he said that they were going. He's like, because he knew that she was questioning. Yeah. She was questioning, going with this dude on this vacation. Then he throws it out. She's like, oh, I've always wanted to go there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And he lives hours. It is nighttime by the time they get to his house. So he lives hours from where she lives. And he's in her grocery store. Why? Like, that's a local grocery store. Like, come on. And like that, he's hunting.
Well, he's got money, so that's not his only house.
Right.
That's his other place that he goes to.
I don't know, man. It seems like a lot of work. It seems like he could have gotten somebody way closer to where he is.
Well, I understand, like, he needs the privacy of being out in the middle of nowhere, but that's just that's a red flag. Don't do it. Mm-hmm. Don't do it. And then her cell service is gone the whole time.
Yeah, I'm guessing he probably had like
a jammer or something.
A jammer or something just to make it so that she couldn't get out. Because you notice when he starts texting under her number to Molly, like he didn't have issues with the cell service at that point, and I'm guessing he turned it off.
Yeah, and then like when they're there and she's looking at the flesh painting.
Oh man.
You see him in the background and he's mixing the drinks. You literally see him if you watch just him and not her in the foreground. If you watch the background's a little blurry because it's in the background. You see him pick up the thing, pour it in her drink, and use a drink pestle to smush it in.
Wow.
Like you see him poison her.
What's funny is I saw that, but I didn't think about it until after. I was like, oh, okay, he's muddling. He's creating. No. It's like, all right, cool. I do that with my mojito sometimes. I'm like, all right, cool.
Nope.
All right.
That's drugs.
Yeah.
Oh, Don actually puts the drugs in his mojito. He just wants more sleep.
Look, I told you I'm dumb when it comes to that stuff. So
Jesus Christ.
I had to roofie myself.
How have we not gotten like way more hate mail than we get? Continue, Allison.
I'm not approving that. I'm just saying, if you're going to drug anyone, drug yourself.
It's because airfare from France costs so much, so they can't send you the hate mail from France.
Yeah.
They could email me. Well, I love France. France is my favorite.
I know.
Continue.
It's interesting.
I have two more notes before we get into Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, I was going to say the drugging thing, right? Now that we're talking about that, like, even when you talk about solutions to people, I don't even know what the hell the things are now, but just drugging people as far as roofies or whatever those date rape drugs are, right? The idea that has been passed on in the past few years, which is, oh, here are these drink covers you can take to the bar with you, or here's,
nail polish.
The nail polish, yeah. And there was like here's something you can actually put in your drink to see if someone put something in it that wasn't in there. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, why can't we just attack the problem where it is, which is it's dudes doing this. But I mean, I shouldn't say it's just guys doing it, but it's primarily men doing this stuff because of, oh my God. Ian and James, you probably remember this. Do you remember Spanish Fly? And I don't mean the rest of the move, James.
I do.
Okay, this shit used to be advertised in regular ass magazines. Like, oh, you know, buy you can order the Spanish Fly. It'll turn your girl wild, or turn a girl.
Yeah.
You just put it in a woman's drink and it's gonna make her horny. Like, this was
and no lie, Bill Cosby cut interviews where he talked about using Spanish Fly.
Yeah. Oh well, yeah. He had a whole comedic bit about it, right? But it was that whole thing of like, oh yeah, you're a man, you're in control, you can do these things to a woman because why else is she coming out other than to have a good time? And you know, yeah, you can go ahead and put something in her drink. I mean, that's the thing that really needs to be attacked, which is you have so many guys out there that still think that this is okay, and you know, that's what's fine for us to do, as opposed to we need to actually attack what the issue is, or attack the programming that so many men have been under. Or I don't know, I'm going to throw this out there. Maybe a lot of guys need to start, I don't know, kicking the shit out of their friends for even proposing that they do things like that.
Yeah, if like the responsible guys who are all, you know, not all men, if they would just step up and like say some shit more often or do some shit about it, maybe it wouldn't be all men.
Yeah. It's like, oh, if I give this girl a couple more drinks, man, she's gonna be ready to go. I'm like, you get her a couple more drinks, she can't consent.
Yeah, you've taken consent away, so now you can't do shit anyway. So good job.
Speaking of which, I think that's something that needs to go into, not that sex ed is even taught anymore, but needs to be as part of a comprehensive sex education courses, not in college, or I should say not just in college, because it's been added to the college curriculum in many cases for like those freshman courses or orientation. But it needs to be put in high school, because there are so many people, or at least a good number of students when I was teaching, as well as people since then and on social media, that have talked about how they didn't know how to say no. They didn't understand what consent meant. They thought that if they found themselves in a situation that they were supposed to give in, and they didn't have the appropriate instruction or education to address what consent was, or even address the fact that someone violated their consent by them not saying anything. Whereas there are guys that are taught, like, if she doesn't say, you know, no actually means yes, or no actually means try harder. Or if she doesn't say anything, she's not saying no. As opposed to, you should understand that consent ends whenever that person says it. It doesn't even matter if you're inside of that person. If that person says stop, we're not continuing, it's over. Consent has ended. It's not, oh, well, let me just go ahead and finish. It's done at that point.
Yeah, consent is ongoing and enthusiastic.
Yes. And if you do happen to be with someone, you know, who they say stop or whatever, and you stop, and they immediately ask you why did you stop? You fucking told me to stop. I'm not going to go any further, you know? Anyway, so I didn't realize I was going to be as heated about this movie as I knew. I took a lot of notes, but this movie has me happy because of how well it's done, the depth of it, how much it makes me pissed off about, you know, because I wrote down toxic masculinity in many forms. And just the fact that we haven't even talked about Molly yet. I'm upset that we haven't talked about the best friend in the world, Molly.
Hang on, Allison, you still had other notes. So before we get that far, I
just
want to make sure that you were still getting to go in your chronological order. So
I have like two more. He does this cool thing of guess the flavor. So she keeps drinking it, taking deep, long, and finishing the entire drink within like a couple of seconds. Like, guaranteed those flavors weren't even in there. Like, she may have got it on the first one. It doesn't matter. You just keep saying no, keep guessing, no, keep until it's gone. Just so you make sure she just got all of it in her system right off the bat. And then that's pretty much the end of like that section of the movie, and then it goes into the second half of the movie. I don't really have notes on that other than best dance sequence ever. Because the rest of the movie is just fucking bonkers. But I do want to talk about Molly because Molly is literally the best person in this whole movie.
Tell me about Molly.
Molly is great. So like Molly is like the smart friend. She's like the aware friend. She's like very confident. She doesn't let people fuck her over ever. Like she seems like she just has her shit together. And like she's a sleuth. She notices right away because like obviously they have their friendship thing of like I love you more. And like the minute she says it to the text and he doesn't text back with I love you more because he doesn't know their inside thing. Like that's a good thing. Like you should have inside shit with your friends in case something like this happens and you get kidnapped into a tortured basement. Like have those triggers where your friend knows, something's up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like this is not right. Like, let me go check it out. And like, so yeah, Molly's great. I love Molly.
They did such a good job of working that I love you more into it. Like it never felt forced.
Yeah.
It felt so natural. And then when it hits, it's such a big impact because of that, because we haven't been paying attention to it. And we've just seen it as part of their relationship. But it tells you so much about them that's enough for her to know that's not my buddy.
Right.
You know?
Well, I
love that.
There's that part because that's something. Well, I'm not going to give too many things away about me because it might come in handy later on. But the Molly when she's talking to Noah about dating, she says, "This is why I date women. Less drama, less fewer games, blah blah blah." And I laughed, and my wife was like, "Why is that funny?" I said, "Apparently, whoever wrote this part has never met lesbians." And she's like, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Lesbians play just as many games as straight men." And she's like, "What do you mean?" I said, "I've known enough lesbians in my home, around my family, friends. Like, it's the same shit. It doesn't matter. I mean, there may be fewer games, but there are no games. I'm sorry, there's definitely not a point where you reach zero games." And said, I like Molly. Maybe Molly doesn't play any fucking games with anybody, but there are definitely women that do that shit within the lesbian community.
I think it's a different type of game. I think it's
it definitely is.
Yeah, it's a different. Yeah. So it doesn't come off so much as like playing games. And she does make the point of it's a lot of emotional dependence.
Right.
It is 100% a lot of emotional dependence, more so than just games. And with emotion, like obviously with emotions comes like what people would perceive as games. So I mean, yeah, I get what she's saying though.
Oh look, I had this conversation with someone because I don't want to out anybody on a podcast. But I had this conversation with somebody a few years ago where they said, "Oh, you know, I'm like, oh, who you talking to?" I'm like, "Oh, it's so and so." I said, "Oh, one of your ex-girlfriends." And this person then said, "Yeah, but it's not like that anymore." I was like, "Well, what do you mean?" She's like, "Well, she's married, and we talk from time to time. We'll come and hang out." I was like, it sounds like she has you on the back burner. Right. And so this person was like, "No, that's not what it is." And so they keep texting and stuff and whatever. So her friend gets divorced. And then it's like, "Oh, we should hang out. We should go to the movies. We should go get something to eat." And so I then replied to this person in a separate conversation, like, "You're available. You're single. And now she's single. She was getting you ready for her departure. So what are you going to? No, we're just going to be friends. We've set boundaries as far as what's going to happen. We're not going to get together. We're not going out. We're not doing this." So I then informed this person, "I'm telling you exactly what is going to happen. This person is now single. They're trying to bounce and use you as a rebound. Do not do it because they need that emotional link with you." So come to fast forward a few months later. This person then comes to me, "Yeah, you were completely right," because she was going through a tough time with her then ex. They've gotten back together, but while they were broken up, she was trying to get back together with me to fill that need, that emotional or that whatever need that she had while they were apart. And now, she doesn't text me as much and she doesn't want to hang out. She doesn't want to do this. And it's like, hey, I understand what she was doing. I said, I've known you long enough. I've known friends of yours long enough. I've seen how these circles kind of work. So it's fun.
I can't believe you're going to out me on the podcast with my wife on here.
look. You and I were single at the same time, Ian. Okay. It's fair game. It's fair game.
Boy, I'm glad I wasn't involved in that.
Well,
Jeez.
I'd broken up with you, James. So
I'm still hurt. Anyway.
The rest of the movie really isn't as problematic. It's really weird. It's just a good time.
It really is. It's amazing how much less there is to say about it. Like, there's still stuff, but like, it's weird how the part that feels like it would have more to say is like, so he eats people. You know,
I'm gonna disagree.
And he sells them.
I'm gonna disagree. I think there's still a lot to say. I mean, there's definitely, I would say, proportionally, there's definitely a lot more in that 30 minutes compared to the remaining hour and a half. As far as the totality of it. But you're talking about it, like when he explains what he's doing, like he's like, I'm going to sell your meat and sell your hair, right? The way he delivers it is fucking outstanding. I think it's better than him explaining like, oh, you've been drugged and this is what's going to happen and blah, blah, blah. Like when he's in that room with her and she's chained up and he's explaining what's going to happen. You then have these flashes throughout the rest of the movie where you see people consuming, wealthy people consuming the 1% of the 1%. These wealthy people consuming people that are going to be forgotten about. Basically disposable people, I think is what I wrote down. Disposable people because they don't have families, they don't have friends. No one's going to miss them. I mean, it's just like with the comparison I tried to make in this, or at least in my notes, was to human trafficking, where people are being sought out that aren't going to be missed in a lot of cases. And there was something I was looking at the other day where they're talking about doing experiments on orphans, because it's like, well, the orphans don't have any families. So who's going to complain, or at least who's going to represent these people or speak up for them? They don't have anybody. So because they are vulnerable, it's a whole lot easier to get away with this. But I would even make the argument of, I think it would be easy to get away with it, period, because you're looking at people who have, as Steven's character states, it's the 1% of the 1%. Are they really in any danger?
No.
Like they could have taken somebody who was a celebrity, made them disappear and come up with some excuse in whatever newspaper or news outlet that they controlled, and turned it into, oh, this person, I don't know, crashed into a plane, or they could have come up with some way to, because there would really be nothing that would stop them from, I don't know why I'm thinking about Julia Roberts, but there would be nothing that would stop them from saying, oh yeah, Julia Roberts died, in a car wreck, and paying off the right people or having the right people under their employ to fill out the paperwork in order to consume Julia Roberts.
I was imagining what Julia Roberts tastes like.
Well, she's from Georgia, so I'm sure there's like a
peachy,
yeah.
An apricot, nectarine.
Nectarine.
Yeah. Well, okay, I'm going to ask a really fucked up question now.
I'm going to say yes before you ask this question, because I know what I can guess what the question's going to be. My answer is yes.
It's a two-part question. I knew yes was going to be part of it.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and skip to, who would you eat?
Someone consenting.
Yes, someone.
Literally anyone, so long as they are consenting.
I've been very vocal about if I had the opportunity, as long like I'm not saying like, oh yeah, let's, I want somebody to go murder somebody so I can eat somebody, but like if like the situation where the guy made the foot tacos with his buddies.
Yeah, like he was getting his foot amputated anyway.
Yeah.
And was like, can I keep it? Sure. All right, let's try it. Okay. Like this dude's like, hey, eat my foot. And you're like, okay.
Like every time one of our friends get pregnant, I always say, what are you going to do with the placenta? Are you going to keep it and eat it? And they're like, no. And I'm like, okay,
people do that.
If you want to, and you want to like give me a little bit, I would try to eat some of your placenta.
And the thing
is this like a way to not have friends so you don't have to buy baby gifts?
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
No, that is the baby gift. You're getting rid of their placenta.
We don't like friends that have kids anyway.
I watched something like back in the day, and this lady, they kept because a lot of times like they can make pills out of the placenta.
Yeah.
Because it gives you like extra nutrients that the baby needs when you breastfeed or whatever.
Mhm.
But this one lady, like, they kept it and they made like this thing that kind of looked like a lasagna. And I was like,
Okay.
oh wow, I want to check that out. And then everybody's like, what the fuck? No, I'm just gonna use mine in the pill form. So one day I'll find someone that will let me have their placenta. So if anyone out there wants to get rid of their placenta, please go to pbreak.com and
Run P.
runp.com and send a placenta eater at runp.com. Shoot me an email.
This is a lot like that if you could have dinner with any famous person in history, except in this case,
It's
you're
a
eating
I mean,
plan.
you're
them.
still having them for dinner.
My answer would be somebody who looks like Schwarzenegger, because I think it's really weird. Like, maybe I'm overthinking this, but this main girl, she's pretty skinny. She's kind of small. Like, I don't know. I want somebody meaty and like, I don't know. It just doesn't seem worth it to
I would have gone
me.
with a fat person. Like, as a fellow fat, like, I would have gone with a fat person because, like, I don't want.
I was too.
I
I
don't
was
want
like
lean,
marbled or
muscly.
lean or like, I don't know.
No, I don't want lean muscle. I don't like lean meat very much. Like, I want a pork belly. Like,
Okay.
I want it to taste like pork belly because that's the most delicious meat ever. Yeah. But yeah, the main chick doesn't.
I can't come
like
over
she can get
anymore.
meat. I know it's terrible, right?
But yeah,
Dinner
it's
with
just very odd
friends.
to me. I really like the interaction of I don't even know the main girl's name anymore. What's her name?
Noah.
Noah.
Thank you. I got stuck on another movie in my head and almost said her name. Anyway, yeah, I really like the interaction between Noah and like Penny,
Yeah.
and to a degree, the things Melissa's doing in the background. Like, I really, really liked this. I like how they can't necessarily see each other, but they can like tell what's going on. I liked how it gives you that vibe of like, is this person real? But then they like call it out as well. And I don't know. It was just such an interesting way to give her someone to talk to so that you could kind of like hear what's going on in her head, but also a way for her to learn information that didn't seem as weird. And everything about it was just so good to me. I really, really like the conversations between them.
And it was like a way to cement the fact that like he's not new at this.
Right.
Like, he's been doing it a long time. He knows how to keep people alive. He knows how to, like, he has the means with which to hold them for a long time, and no one's coming to look for them.
Yep.
I like the part too when Penny hits the point and she's like, am I going crazy? I don't even know if you're actually there, if I'm just talking to myself. So that was really cool too. At first, like when she was talking to someone, Penny, I was wondering, I'm like, is this like maybe his accomplice or something?
That's what
like
I thought.
that? And
Yeah.
they're trying to disarm her a little bit, but nope, that wasn't the case. His accomplice was much
His wife.
worse. Yeah.
Yeah.
His wife.
Oh man, how did you guys feel when the wife reveals her leg?
Oh, I saw that coming. I did 100%. I was like, oh, this bitch is Stockholmed. 100%.
Oh well, yeah. The wife or Noah is his next wife. Like I think at some point
he was grooming her.
Yeah, he was definitely grooming her. So at some point he would either kill his wife or his wife would just be gone, or maybe he would just like have a second wife and a second family with Noah. That's how I see this playing out. If she would have been as on board as she was acting like she was.
Her
He
playing
was
his
falling
game.
in love.
Yeah, her playing his game of liking, or like, what does it taste like, and being curious about. He's like, I found someone who's like me, and he's like, that's when the tables kind of turned, where no longer he was stalking her, like she was now preying on him and his emotions and his connections in order to, do what she does. So like her doing that, like he thought he had found his next kindred soul, like, oh,
Definitely.
So I thought that was great.
And I feel like that's all there. I feel like it's all there, and they could have just thrown in one line, because the wife attacks Noah at the end, and I think one line there of "you can't replace me" or something like that, to just really kick it in that that's the motivation here at the end, that this person was trying to steal your husband, that whole idea,
But she didn't care about him. she told that guy, put him in the freezer. She was going to sell his meat too. She doesn't love him. She had Stockholm syndrome in the sense of like, she did what she had to get out of the situation so he wouldn't eat her anymore. Kind of like Noah did, but she took it further and like, she now became complicit with it and complacent. Like, she had the family she probably didn't have. She has these twin boys now that she's like, she has no connection to him whatsoever. Like, she's not mad that he's seeing this other person, other than the fact that, is it going to mess up my family, my well-being, my comfortable situation, my life? Like, that was her motivation of anger, was not, oh, I think he's fucking this chick. Like,
no, I meant it more like, you're threatening my position.
Yes, yeah, that's
like,
what
not about being in love or jealous. I meant, you're a threat to taking my spot.
Yeah, but at that point, he was already dead, so she was taking over the family business at that point. Like, it was already in her head, like, we're gonna keep it going.
That makes sense, yeah.
Because she told that dude, get him in the freezer. Like, we got to get his meat preserved. Like, we can still use this.
That's new Steve.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just so many great little things in here. Like the first time that he's feeding Noah, like you're conditioned to think that it's Molly, and then it's not. But then the second time, this was clearly Molly, and we never directly say it unless you count the part where Molly grabs where her breast used to be when they're making their escape. Does he tell her it's Molly?
Yeah. It's only the breast. That's the only part that's Molly, because the meal is Melissa. And then she never asks when he serves the slice of breast. Like, she doesn't ask at that point who it is. Cause I guessing she just assumes it's still Melissa.
Yeah. Like, it's all from one person. Yeah.
But he said, like, she like kind of makes a smirk about it. And he says a line, something about, oh, I thought you were going to say it's familiar, or something about it's familiar to you.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
there is a line in there about it being familiar to her, and she overlooks it until, I think it doesn't dawn on her until she sees Molly's phone behind the flesh picture.
Interesting.
Which, speaking of phones, this is the part that did piss me off about Molly. She does like outstanding sleuthing off of like nothing to find, where Dr. Steven might be, right? Sees his wife or meets his wife and basically says everything that's going on. She invites her in. He comes home. This is immediately when you should have been like, she's probably off drinking somewhere. She's probably off partying, She'll probably call me in a couple of days, right? She sometimes disappears. I was just concerned. And then get the fuck out of the house, and then maybe at that point call the phone. But what really pissed me off was like, you are in a situation, this person is in front of the door, you got his wife there, she already gave you some water, which at that moment I'm already thinking you don't drink at somebody's house when you're looking for somebody.
Yeah.
But she calls and the ringtone hits, which is great for the movie. But in reality, I'm looking at it like, Molly, you're so smart up until this part. And you call her phone from inside his house. You suspect it's him. And, we hear the
Golden Girl.
The Golden Girls intro. And I love the fact that they keep it playing. It's not a moment where she gets knocked out and, I love how they keep it playing at that moment of her being captured.
This was a really dumb plan, though. What if it was on silent? Or like, he just didn't have it on him, and it was like upstairs in a bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
How is this supposed to work?
Told you, Molly was smart up until that point.
Very strange. What else do you got, Allison? Ian? Don?
Oh, I got some more, but I'm going to let... Oh, well, here's the other thing. I knew that... I mean, we already know that Steven's a maniac at this point. But when he goes running and he takes off his New Balance, I'm like, he's definitely a fucking maniac if he's running in New Balance.
When I saw the New Balance there, his shoes, I was like, New Balance is going to have to make a statement saying, we do not endorse
Cannibalism.
Nor condone cannibalism. we are not one of the. We do not support the 1% of the 1%.
I do want to say the movie is shot so well and framed so well. Like the moments that they insert these hyper close up visuals of people's mouths and eating, like it's so uncomfortable.
Oh yeah.
It's perfect. Like it's just so disgusting. You're like, and it's just, even when they're just eating normal stuff, it's still disgusting to have that close up of someone just eating.
Yeah, the lighting was really good too. Like when we got to Steve's house,
everything
was red and yellow and like the in between. Like the lighting was really good. I was like, whoever was the main cinematographer for this, whoever shot this, did an excellent job at lighting and lining up the shots and stuff.
It's gorgeous, which is often a bad thing in movies because that means the rest sucks, but not in this case. I really like the kitchen fight scene. That's a fun part.
That was so very like realistically done too. Like of these women, like, yeah, you have 3 against 1, but they're all injured and like tired and weak at this point. And like, so it's a very realistically done, like how much effort it took for them to take him down.
Well, and they're also not trying to take me down. They're trying to take down this buff dude.
Yeah.
Who looks like he goes to kickboxing class every Friday, you know, like, so yeah. I thought it was an extremely well done fight.
That's true. He was also injured, but he was just full of rage at that point.
I don't think there's been a movie that I celebrated a moment like this, like when she bites his testicles. Like I jumped up cheering. It was so great. But it's also not just gore. Like everything builds to that moment, and like the motivation behind it, the way that it will weaken him, like everything points at this being the answer. And that's such great crafting and plotting. And
the toothpaste in his eyes.
Oh God, the toothpaste was amazing.
Great.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And I like how she had him like so wrapped around her finger in that scene. Like he's just laying there on the bed. She's letting her go into his bathroom all by herself.
Yeah.
I was like, he had just thought he was just like head over heels for her at that point, and it came back and bit him in the dick.
He deserved it. It was wonderful.
I don't like that they left him. Like when they took him out in the kitchen, I was like, that's when you just stab him in the head. Like you finish the job. Like you don't leave it. You don't panic and run. Like you got to finish it. Because then look what happens. He gets up and chases after you.
Yeah. I didn't feel there was a storyline reason for it either.
Yeah.
Like nothing's going to change if you take another 2 seconds to kill him.
Right. Because it's not like they were escaping anyone else in the house.
Yeah.
Like they could have literally stayed in the house. I don't know why they left the house, first of all. What was the purpose of running out into the woods?
Well, you got to remember, they're tired. They're sleep deprived. They don't know what time of day it is. They don't even know what day it is, for that matter, as well as the time, which they do make that joke at one point where Stevie's like, I'll pick you up at 7. He's like, you don't know what time it is.
Yeah.
But there's not even a storyline reason to go outside. Like the more I'm thinking about how the rest plays out, you could do it in the house anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I liked when he was chasing them down out in the woods, the makeup they did on his face to show that he was hit with the meat mallet. Like they did a really good job there. Like and our buddy Ari, she watched it with us on Friday. She even brought up, she goes, now his outside matches his insides because he looks like a monster.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh. So,
and he has no balls. Oh.
Wow. Well, we can't leave out Paul though, because Paul, story-wise, I think they did something really great, which was setting us up to think that Paul is going to show up and, oh, shit, this guy's doing all this stuff. But
they removed the knight in shining armor aspect.
Yeah.
They took it away, 100%. They turned him into, he's like, I'm ditching and running. Nope, this is weird.
He's like, I've seen this movie before. Fuck this. I'm out. I'm like, yep, that's exactly what would happen. You see that house, you hear the gunfire, and you're like, yeah.
I'm gonna drive away. I'll call the cops to show up, but I'm gonna leave.
Right.
I'll call it in, but I'm gonna take off. Like,
well, and I think it says a lot about how even the nicest guys if you're not putting in any actual action, you're not stopping anything. You know, like if you're not actively fighting to help, and granted, he doesn't know what's going on, but he knows some weird shit's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, so I think that that's just an interesting commentary as well, that even though he means well and he has a great reason to not go, like at the end of the day, he's still another male who didn't help them and they had to do it themselves. But I'm also so fucking thankful that they weren't all saved by a random dude showing up.
That was the thing. When he first started showing up, I was like, no, don't do that. Don't make him the savior. Don't.
Right.
And then they did it, and I was like, yes.
Yeah, they didn't even do like the ending of Get Out where he even picks him up in the car. Like we're just left with them just
nothing.
out there.
Yeah.
Yep. And they
Penny
probably
out
have
by the
cell
barn,
service.
the other two over out by the tree. I was like, what happened? Because it's just them two. Penny's over by the barn, and then the dude with the braid, like he's still there somewhere.
Yeah. The courier is definitely
He's
out
still
there.
He's
I
taking dude's
absolutely
body to the freezer.
I absolutely love the part where after the wife attacks Noah, Penny comes in and takes her out. And that part where she just keeps slamming the shovel into Anne's face, and she's like, "Bitches
Molly?
like you are the fucking Molly, thank you."
Yeah.
She's like, "Bitches like you are the fucking problem." Oh my god, that was amazing.
Well, and then
So
one
good.
of the funniest lines in the whole movie is they're sitting there, Molly and Noah sitting there together, and Molly's like, "Who the fuck was that?"
Noah,
Molly's
Noah
like,
says, "Who the fuck is that?" That's his wife.
Yeah, Molly's, and she goes, "He had a wife."
Married? Like, how dare he? Of all the things.
Yeah, of all the things he does, how dare he be married? Then Molly was just like, he was married. He had a wife.
I think that's great.
And then the song they play after that is that by the Yeah Yeah Yeahs. It's like Off With Her Head.
Yeah.
So it was very ironic that not ironic, they did it on purpose, but it was a very ironic song to play there. It was really cool.
Yeah, everything about that last scene is just great to me because like it goes back to their friendship, and like no matter what you go through, like that seems so realistic to me that like as it's technically over, you'd sit there with your friend and make some jokes because what the fuck else are you going to do?
Yeah.
Yeah, the writing for this was really well done. It was really realistic. Like you're saying, like that is like a real conversation. Like if this is something that happened to like you and Don got put in this situation, you guys would be cracking jokes like that at the end.
Don would be a Paul. I know it.
I would just sit there and like, I fucking told you we should have got dessert.
I would have left early on. I would have, since we made a Get Out joke there, I would have been Rod and been like, how's none of this scaring you? And I would have fucking left. So
He's like, look, he said he was inviting us over to eat. I didn't know that's what he meant.
good God.
Yeah. His dance sequences, though, fucking brilliant. I love those.
Yeah, I used to always question like dance off or dance sequences in movies sometimes, but I've over the last 3 or 4 years I've seen it happen in like real life where out of nowhere some people just break out in like song and dance. Like we were at somebody's house and these people literally started having a dance off in the kitchen, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, am I in a movie right now? These people are literally having a dance off. Like this happens in movies, but yeah, like the dance when he does when he's cooking the meat was really cool, but the dance him and her does was together was really cool as well, I think.
It's fantastic, yeah. And it adds so much weirdness.
Yeah.
But it also just really shows you like what she has to do to get out of this.
Yeah.
So
I know whenever he was when Sebastian Stan was trying to get the this role in the movie, he had talked to the director and all them, and I guess they weren't really sure about it, so he had like sent a video of him dancing in the kitchen with a knife to the director to be like, look, see, I really want to do this movie, like I'm all about it. And so that's when they're like, yep, because I listened to an interview with the director, and they're like, they're about to offer him the role like the next day, but that night she got the email. She's like, "Oh, we made the perfect decision because he is sending a video of him dancing with a knife, so he really wants this."
Well, he made a right choice, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. All right, so I guess that brings us to movie recommendations. Lovecrafts, do you have any movies people should watch if they enjoyed this film?
I don't, but I know Ian does.
I would say Ravenous for sure. Anything doing with cannibalism or anything like that is cool. I would also recommend Last Night in Soho. Although it's not about cannibals, it does have to do a lot of gaslighting
of women.
Of women and how much pieces of shit men are, you know. And another recommendation would be Last Matinee. It has nothing to do with this movie, but we saw it recently and we loved it, so I'm going to recommend it.
Very cool. All right. My original double feature for this was going to be Promising Young Woman for obvious reasons. But I'm actually going with, I was reminded of a film that I watched last year that I just fucking loved called Life After Beth. And that's my double feature for this. I think it would be amazing with this. All right, Don. Yeah.
Also, if I could add in, I would throw in the Babysitter movies because I think Sebastian Stan's character could be Max's character if he hadn't have died in those movies. Like, this could have been the individual he grew up to be.
Can I change my answer to who I would eat? Because hi, Robbie. How are you? Anyway,
okay, girl over there.
All right, Don.
All right, so
1,287 movies.
James, I've only got a handful. Partially because you took Promising Young Woman, even though you said you didn't have his double feature, you mentioned it, and Ian took Ravenous, and we've already mentioned Get Out enough. But I would also bring up the series, the Santa Clarita Diet. Fear, when we're starting to talk about toxic relationships and things like that. Crimson Peak, Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil, and Vile, the film that had Zac Efron playing Ted Bundy. If you're really into penis decapitation scenes, Eve of Destruction has a great one. And it is all predicated on the fact that the robotic woman does not like being called a bitch, and she gets called one, and the guy gets his penis bitten off.
I can do Hard Candy.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good one for this. Mm-hmm.
And if you do like seeing penises explode, there's a movie called Porno that I think Fangoria did, and this guy has his, I don't know if it was his dick or if just his balls blew up, but it was pretty graphic.
And since this was produced by Adam McKay, I'm going to give a couple of movies that he's done. It would be Don't Look Up, as far as like, hey, here are all the red flags, here's some things we need to pay attention to. And a film that involves someone who is probably worse than someone who would supply people with meat for cannibalism. And it's the movie Vice that's talking about Dick Cheney. So.
Oh, his logo, like him having everything on his logo, reminded me of like Hostel. Because they have the Bloodhound logo.
Right.
Maybe they're just like a subsidiary of that.
Yeah, it seemed very similar because, again, it's like the 1%ers like paying to torture people instead of them just paying to eat people, which I guess they could have eaten people as well as one of their things they wanted to do to them.
I mean, it seems like you could torture them for a while and then eat them.
Yeah. I don't know.
Be very green about it.
He said that stressed out meat does not taste good. So.
Oh, that's true. He did. Yeah, but he doesn't believe in free range. So I mean.
Only with Noah.
You can't free range a human because you don't know what they're putting into their body, and you don't want all the drugs and steroids and stuff. So you have to have them in an enclosure so you can monitor their diet.
Yeah,
Shit,
he does that very closely.
I don't want steroids. No Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, you don't want your balls to shrivel up.
They're
James,
easier
I'm not
to
gonna
eat.
do it, James. I'm not gonna do it.
What's
wrong with you? Why wouldn't you eat me? I'm delicious.
Come on, do it
All
now.
this protein. Come on.
Yeah.
Put my arm in the chopper. Come on.
Do it.
What now?
Oh, I hate you all.
I'm so sorry.
See, James kept doing it. I'm like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. He says Schwarzenegger like 10 times. I'm like, wow, fuck.
He's caught on to the games I play to entertain
Right.
myself.
Son of a bitch.
Oh, well. I have a lot of videos of Robbie Amell to watch, so we should wrap this up.
Well, that does it about it for Necronomicon.com.
Yeah.
This is James Sabata and Don Guillory. Catch you next week on the flip side.